tomorrow night, UFC 259. Let me tell you something, Nate. This is probably one of the most stacked cards I think I've seen this whole entire year. This is going to be a good card right here. So we start off with, first of all, I just want to say there's going to be 3 title fights, 3 of them on one card. I'm just saying this is definitely the most stacked card of the year in my opinion. So we'll start off with the first title fight. The first title fight to be fought will be Piotr versus Aljamin Sterling. They're going to be fighting for the UFC Bantamweight Championship. Then from there, we go to the Women's Featherweight Championship, and you already know who we got coming. If any UFC fans out there know, you know she's the baddest woman on the planet. We got Amanda Nunes going up against Megan Anderson. Let me tell you something, that Amanda Nunes is a bad girl, Nate. Bad girl. Oh my God.
Bad girl.
And last but not least, we have the last style bender, Israel Adesanya. Yeah, you heard me. That's a bad man right there. Right there. That is a bad man. I call him the next Anderson Silva. I think he can do a lot more. And he's going up against Jan Blachowicz. And let me tell you something. Jan is a pretty powerful dude. So you know what? Let's get these predictions going. We're going to start with Piotr Jan versus Alderman Sterling.
Oh yeah, we will. Let me get started. Let me start off with stats real quick. I'll start off with Petr Yan real quick. His striking accuracy is 50%. His striking defense is 66%. His takedown accuracy is 29%, and his takedown defense is 51%. So not bad numbers. He has an orthodox stance, which is pretty good, and his reach is 71 inches. As for Aljamain Sterling, he has a switch stance, which is actually pretty impressive. He has a reach of 67 inches, so a little less than Yan. He has a striking accuracy of 50%, striking defense of 63%, takedown accuracy of 52%, and takedown defense of 88%, which is really, really good. This is going to be a really good fight, personally. I mean, they're pretty close. They're relatively the same size. They have, their reach is a few inches off, and their defense and whatnot is actually not that far off. I think the only couple that are blown out is the takedown accuracy and defense, but the striking is actually relatively the same. So as for striking, I can't really see this as a problem, but as for the takedown, I think Petr Yan he really needs to watch out because, like I said, Aljamain Sterling has a takedown defense of 88% and takedown accuracy of 52 in comparison to his takedown accuracy of 29 and defense of 51. So you better watch out because that man Sterling can take man down. As for my prediction, this is gonna be a good fight. I can see Aljamain Sterling winning this one. I can see it. Although I think this is I feel like this is one of those fights that's gonna go to distance. So at the end of the day, I want to say Aljamain Sterling. Yeah, I'll go with Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah, you know what, Nate? I completely agree with you. We're going to go with the underdog because Aljamain Sterling is the underdog in this fight. Look, Petr Yan, let me tell you something. Petr Yan has some incredible knockout power. The guy is a very strong guy. He doesn't use his takedown, he doesn't use takedowns a lot. He doesn't like that wrestling stuff. He goes right to the nitty gritty and he's looking to knock you out. Here's the thing, though. The one thing I look at with Aljamain Sterling, he's a switch fighter, switch stance fighter. And those fighters are very, very dangerous. You got the orthodox and you got the southpaw fighters, and you can prepare for those guys. But Aljamain Sterling being able to fight and use both hands equally, that is definitely a power. That is definitely a power that I think Piotr Yan should be looking out for. Look, I expect Aljamain Sterling. I don't know if I can see this going the distance. If so, Aljamain Sterling is going to have to really dominate him for 5 rounds. Because if he lets go of I'll give him 1 round of leniency, but if he lets go of 2, I could definitely see them giving this to Piotr Yan because he's the champion. But I'm going to be honest with you, Nate. I could definitely see Aljamain Sterling. I'm going to be honest with you. I could definitely see him controlling this whole fight. So you know what? With that being said, I'm going to go Aljamain Sterling, unanimous decision as well. It seems like a long shot, but when you really look at it, if he's able to use that takedown accuracy pretty well, and Piotr Yan can't do anything because of how good his takedown defense is, then I got Aljamain Sterling. But I'm expecting that takedown defense to be a little bit off because Piotr Yan, again, this is a guy who we don't really see attempt a lot of takedowns, which is why if he does, it'll be a lot more surprising. But regardless, at the end of the day, I think Aljamain Sterling's going to really control this fight. I think he's going to hit him with some clean shots, and I think Aljamain Sterling will become your new undisputed UFC bantamweight champion. So you know what, Nate? Give me Aljamain Sterling. We're going to the next fight, okay?
All right,
The next
let's
fight,
go.
we got
We got
Megan Anderson
mm,
versus, you already know who, the baddest woman on that planet, man,
all right.
Amanda Nunes. And before you just start naming stats, I just want to say, congratulations to Amanda Nunes. She just had originally she had a daughter, her and her girlfriend. I can't remember, or wife. I can't remember her name. I can't remember her fiance's name or her wife's name. But I just want to say congratulations to those two.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations to her. Now let's get to the stats. We're going to start off with Megan Anderson. She has a reach of 72 inches, which is pretty impressive. And she has an orthodox stance. Her striking accuracy is 46%. Her striking defense is 38%. Her takedown accuracy is 33%. And her takedown defense is 53%. Let's get to the baddest woman on the planet, Amanda Nunes. She has a reach of 69 inches. She has an orthodox stance, so they're relatively the same when it comes to stance. Her striking accuracy is 51%. Her striking defense is 57%. Her takedown accuracy is 53%, and her takedown defense is 84%. That's a bad woman. So you know what? I ain't even gonna waste my time, man. My girl, man, in New Year's gonna take this one. That's my girl right there. That's the baddest girl on the planet.
Yeah, look, when we're talking about the greatest UFC women's fighter of all time. It's going to be pretty hard to bet against her. I got her too, but here's what I will say. Okay, Megan Anderson she's a pretty good fighter. She really is. But here's the thing: pretty good is not enough to be Amanda Nunes. I'm sorry, but it's not. Okay, we've seen Amanda Nunes go through Miesha Tate, Holly Holmes, Ronda Rousey, Valentina Shevchenko, which, by the way, I'd like to see a second fight with those two because a lot of people think Valentina should have won. I'm trying to think. God, she's fought. I'm trying to think of who else she's fought. I think maybe Felicia Spencer. I might have fought her. I can't remember. But regardless, Amanda Nunes has fought every single challenger, and they all have been falling like dominoes. Oh, and I'm sorry, I keep forgetting Chris Cyborg, who at the time was a pretty dangerous woman herself. And Amanda Nunes just went in there and knocked her ass down in the first round. So with that being said, I got Amanda Nunes win this fight. And look, it's no knock to Megan Anderson. Megan Anderson is a very, very good fighter. But let me tell you something. Megan Anderson, if there's any chance of her winning, Megan Anderson has to use that reach against her. She's got to keep her distance, and she's got to keep Amanda Nunes at bay. And if you keep her at bay and you tire Amanda Nunes out, which is really hard to do because Amanda Nunes is such a high motor. But if you do somehow end up tiring her out, you can end up picking your shots, and Megan Anderson can definitely win this fight. But with that being said, Amanda Nunes has too much experience to be slipping into traps like that. So you know what? By the end of this fight, I'm going to go with, and still, the UFC Women's Featherweight Champion, Amanda Lioness Nunes. Excuse me. You already know. You already know, man. That's the baddest woman on the planet right there. Without a doubt. Say less. Put somebody in front of her, she will knock them down. Simple as that. It's Amanda Nunes, bro. That's right. Next fight, Nate. Let's get to it. We got Israel, the last style bender, Adesanya. Yeah, that's a bad man right there. Let me tell you something about that Israel Adesanya, man. That is a bad man. And he's going up against Jan Blachowicz. Now, look, Jan got some Polish power, man. That's all people talk about is this Polish power. But you know what? I'm going to have you speak the stats, and then we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, right. We'll start with John Blachowicz. He has a reach of 78 inches. He has an orthodox stance. His striking accuracy is 48%. His striking defense is 54%. His takedown accuracy is 52%, while his takedown defense is 65%. Pretty impressive. As for Israel Adesanya, his reach is 80 inches, which he hasn't beaten. That's pretty impressive too. He has a switch stance, so he can do both orthodox and southpaw, which is pretty impressive and dangerous. So be careful for that. His striking accuracy is 50%. His striking defense is 65%. This one kind of surprised me. His takedown accuracy is 0%, but his takedown defense is 86%.
He doesn't attempt takedowns.
Yeah,
he doesn't do it.
Yeah, he's just one of those fighters. Yeah, but hey, look, man, I think this is gonna be one of the better fights on this card. But
Absolutely.
this is a tough one too. I mean, unlike the Amanda Nunes one, I kind of knew who's gonna win that. That's a bad woman. This one's just like the first fight we were talking about. Israel Adesanya is a bad man too, man.
You
So
already you already know, man. That is, hey, let me tell you something.
that's
That dude represents Africa. He's representing New Zealand, bro. You already know, and he does it in a very very good way. You know what? Can I start with this first, Nate?
let me give you my prediction. I got the last style bender got this fight. That's who I got winning this fight. That's too bad of a man for me.
Nah, absolutely. I got the same thing. I got Izzy with a second round TKO. And going back to the Amanda Nunes one, I got her probably winning in like the fourth round, maybe by like TKO, same thing. But let me get to Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya is such a rare fighter to come across. Okay, I'm surprised it said his striking defense was only at 65% because Israel Adesanya barely even gets touched. It's as simple as that. Here's the thing: we compare when he first came out, we compared him to Anderson Silva. What a lot of us ended up finding out was this man went 76-4 in kickboxing. Okay, these were tournaments where you had to fight 3 times a day. Okay, he's got knocked out 1 time in his career, in his whole entire fighting career. Okay, I remember that knockout. It wasn't, and he got knocked out, got right back up, and then from that point on, he never got knocked out again. So every single mistake that he's made, Nate, you also got to realize all those mistakes were made in kickboxing. So he's learned from them before he even became a pro in UFC. There's a reason why Israel Adesanya ended up getting a title shot in just 2 years. There's a reason for that. Um, Again, he's a switch stance fighter, which, if we're gonna be honest, I think those are the most dangerous fighters to really step into an octagon and fight, because you never know what stance they can go and you never know what type of angles they can hit you with. But Israel Adesanya is so precise. He is so accurate. He is like a technician. He's just picking you apart, and he knows exactly what you're gonna. He knows exactly what he's gonna do to you as soon as he steps in that octagon. You know, there's no with Israel Adesanya. There's no planning at that moment. There's no what's the word I'm looking for? There's no wing it. There's no figure it out at the moment. He knows exactly what he's going to do to you. Look at Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa thought he had him all figured out. Israel Adesanya ended up damaging his leg and ended up knocking him out, TKOing him. You look at Robert Whitaker. He did the same thing with Robert Whitaker. He beat Anderson Silva, and that went to unanimous decision. Why? Because Anderson Silva is exactly the same fighting style as him. They're both technicians. So that was a very good fight. He ended up having a fight against Yoel Romero, and not a lot of people ended up enjoying that fight because they thought it was boring. But look, here's the one thing a lot of people knock on Izzy. He's too skinny. He doesn't look 185 pounds. He doesn't look 205 pounds. And you know what? I'm going to be honest. And earlier when I was looking at Israel Adesanya, I was like, this dude is very, very skinny, you know? And I'm looking at guys like Paulo Costa and Yoel Romero. And I'm looking and I'm like, he don't look anything like these guys. These guys look like they're like 200 pounds. Israel Adesanya looks like he's like 150 at most. But let me tell you something. It don't matter, because Israel Adesanya, despite whether people want to call him skinny or not, you ain't going to be calling him that when he puts you on your ass. It's as simple as that, Nate. Israel Adesanya, I'm going to be honest, out of all the fighters in the UFC, right, besides maybe like Habib's retired, Israel Adesanya, I think, is the definition of a perfect fighter. Simple. He's the definition of a perfect fighter. The only thing like that would make him even more perfect if he was a wrestler. That's it. But he's not. He's a striker. But his wrestling defense, his takedown defense is absolutely ridiculous. You name the stat, 88%, I think you said. So you know what, Nate? Give me Israel Adesanya, second round TKO. So just to recap who I think is going to win these fights: Aljamin Sterling by unanimous decision. Amanda Nunes, fourth round TKO. Israel Adesanya, second round TKO. And I think Israel Adesanya will become your new UFC light heavyweight champion. But you know what? I got to give my props to Jan Blachowicz. This is a guy who started 1-4 in the UFC, and he ended up just flying high from there. So I gotta respect Jan Blachowicz and what he's done in the light heavyweight division. But let me tell you something, Nate. When Israel Adesanya is stepping in front of you in that octagon, okay, there are very few to beat him in his career, and I don't think there's a person right now that can. So you know what? Give me Izzy.
Absolutely, and they're gonna be great 3 fights. And Mario, tell us when those fights are gonna be.
The main card is gonna start at 10 o'clock. No, I'm sorry. Is it 10 o'clock? I think the main card is gonna start at 10 o'clock, and it might go through 1 a.m. You know, considering the fact that these fights take a long time, so it might go through 1 a.m. Sunday morning. But yeah, you guys can definitely go watch these fights on ESPN Plus. It's gonna be a good card. I'm telling you, it's the most stacked card of the year. You gotta watch it.